In order to be the man, you have to beat the man. And I am the man. Welcome to another episode, and that's the bottom line. Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. I'm, of course, your host, the most beloved, Charismatic Man Entertainment. Beat that, Dwayne Rock Johnson. You know, I am the champ. I am the GOAT, and I don't need 1,000 bottles of baby oil to do it. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. But anyway, I'm solo. Get your mind out the gutter. I am doing this solo this week, this episode. A lot of big things I'm working on the podcast, but I want to spice things up, make things different, and do things my way. So I'm working on some guests for the podcast that will pan out, scheduling. TMZ is always trying to get the scoop on me. Can't find me, but I'm back from Seattle, head on vacation. I went one-on-one with the flu. The flu ended up in the hospital. That goes without being said. But, shout out to Seattle. Amazing place. Very expensive food, I should say. I was flabbergasted by the egregious food prices there. Check this out. First day there, I'm thinking about getting food delivery, because brother's hungry, hit the flight, did a lot of walking. So I went to go get some Taco Bell. I'm a simple man, Taco Bell. $30 order was like $65 with delivery. Can't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, that's besides the point. Seattle, you ain't treat me right. I left a lot of my money there, but I will come and collect soon. But anyway, welcome to another episode. I am, of course, the host, the most charismatic man, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in the sports world. But I will be talking about a very popular, a very high-profile case going on, and involves a lot of cases of baby oil. Shout out to Johnson & Johnson, of course. But I want to talk about a couple different things, and it's not just MMA. I trust me. I know we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. So let's get into it, because I don't want you guys, wondering why I'm blabbing on too much. Let's get right into the podcast. Let's get into this episode. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Angel Reese, Caitlyn Clark drama that's going around. So, it came out, WNBA came out with a message on Twitter, and they was talking about the racism that a lot of athletes, Brittany Griner and a couple of the players have came out and talked about. How a lot of fans of Caitlyn Clark or whatever are being racist, using racist rhetoric, racist comments, and attacking them on social media. Now, this all stems from the Caitlyn Clark Angel Reese rivalry. If you haven't been paying attention, Caitlyn Clark, amazing athlete. Angel Reese, another amazing athlete. Both college athletes who turned into the WNBA to compete. And they've had this rivalry ever since they went up against each other. And it has been a real big debate online since these athletes came and became popular. The fan bases have clashed. We all seen it. I've seen it. And I don't even watch the WNBA all that much, to be honest. I know I trashed them before, but I ain't trashing them this time. I'm going to give them their flowers, because I do think Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese have brought many eyes to the sport, and their popularity has helped drive ticket sales, merch sales, and a bunch of other stuff. So there's no taking credit from that. But a lot of fans are getting egregious and out of line with the comments. Whether you're an Angel Reese fan, you're attacking Caitlyn Clark because she's a white girl. If you're a Caitlyn Clark fan, you say, Angel Reese is a ghetto black girl, whatever the case may be. A lot of comments that are being thrown at these athletes. And I do think it is important that people need to realize that, yes, Caitlyn Clark is great in her own right. Angel Reese is great in her own right. They're athletes. They're competing. They're going to go out there and make a show. They're going to go out for each other, because they're both they have the eyeballs on them. They're the rookies that everybody's watching. Everybody's tuning in to see them. Not to discredit the other athletes. There's people out there watching them too. But we all know right now those are the two athletes standing ahead of the pack. But this goes into a much deeper conversation about fans, because I've seen this a lot in sports, and especially MMA. A lot of fans are getting out of hand with their comments, and we're seeing a lot of fighters, a lot of athletes coming out addressing these You even see some people like Russell Westbrook, who has a habit of making sure you don't play with him. A lot of athletes are taking a stance on that, and I do think it's about time that the leagues get involved with it. And it's just getting crazy. It's getting out of hand. It's getting nasty. And I do think there can be a healthy debate, a healthy argument between the fan bases, but we don't need to get to that point when now you're spewing racist rhetoric at the others just because you feel like your athlete is the better one. Caitlyn Clark could do her thing and be successful. Angel Reese can do her thing and be successful. Brittany Griner, all the other athletes, they can do their thing and be great. You don't have to pick and choose who you want to support and then bash the other people. That's not fun. It doesn't make the game any more exciting. If anything, it's going to just cause more hostility. But that's not all. You thought I was going to just end on that? No, of course not. Because this is a solo show. I ain't going to make this boring. We're going to turn this up a notch. So, Claressa Shields. Who's Claressa Shields? The two-time Olympic women's gold medalist. She is a boxer, one of the greatest women boxers of all time, still competing. And she's also MMA athlete as well right now. But she has something to say. Yesterday she came out on X, formerly Twitter, and she wanted to address something that ESPN did, because she felt slighted. So the ESPN made a trailblazing athletes accomplishment list. So, number one, Serena Williams. Nobody's going to debate that. I mean, are you going to really? It's Serena. Then you got Simone Biles, of course, another one. You really can't take anything away from her. One of the greatest athletes of all time in her division. Katie Ledecky, obviously, I'm a Michael Phelps guy, so I know who she is. One of the greatest women athletes in swimming of all time, if not the greatest. Shout out to her. She just won. She dominated the 2024 Olympic Games, and she brought some gold medals to your boy. So we're rock and roll in that department. But that's not the controversy. Those three aren't the controversies. What caused this controversy is that they put Caitlyn Clark as number 4. Claressa Shields she didn't like that. She had something to say about it. And she said that, ESPN is a joke and y'all really lost your mind. I'll read the full quote. So, I'm not putting any words in her mouth. She says, wow, ESPN, y'all really have lost your mind. Do I have to run my resume down to y'all? 2-time Olympic champ, 3-time undisputed champ, 5-weight world champion, 50-time world champion, women's boxing trailblazer. A lot of people, I got to say, a lot of people give Claressa Shields a lot of crap because she's very outspoken and, she makes sure that her name stays in the headlines, which I ain't knocking. At the end of the day, this is show business. No matter if it's basketball, boxing, whatever, it's show business. So, she has something to say about that. And it caused a uproar because you see people like LeBron James, Charles Barkley, and some other prominent NBA legends and analysts give Caitlyn Clark her flowers, but a lot of people think it's becoming a little too egregious in the way how they're putting her over and not everybody else. So, I'm not here to debate whether Caitlyn Clark should be on there, but I do know Claressa Shields, and she does make a good point. She is out here, making a name for herself. Obviously, she's been very successful in that department. She's winning the MMA. And, I do think there can be that debate of, as great as Caitlyn Clark is, does some other athletes deserve that nod? Does Angel Reese deserve that nod? I don't know. But like I said before, I think we need to stop trying to separate these athletes and put them in their own box and make them compete about who's better. People always do that with Kobe and LeBron and Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, even though nobody really throws him in that conversation. But now he's starting to get his name thrown in there. Caitlyn Clark, like I said, can be as good as she is right now without people having to compare her to Angel Reese and vice versa. So this goes back to something I've talked about with Kevin Iole, James Lynch, two prominent MMA journalists. And I've talked about this all the time with fans. The fans nowadays have more access to athletes. Social media has allowed you to DM me, ask me for my phone number, TMZ. You're not getting it. Stop asking. Anyway, besides the point. Social media has allowed fans to connect with their favorite athletes, even athletes they don't like, very quick. Back then, you didn't really have that access unless you went to the games. Maybe you was able to, chuck in boo the other athlete until they acknowledge you. But today, all you got to do is send a DM on Instagram, Twitter, or even tag them, or even shout them out on the timeline. And I'm seeing this a lot, especially with MMA and boxing, because these are individual sports. It's hard to go and call out a LeBron or a Devin Booker or one of these Tyreek Hill because they play for a team, and so it's their accomplishments are individual, but they also have a team. So it's hard to go at them that way. But it's easy to attack a Jon Jones, a Conor McGregor, Israel Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski, a Diego Lopez. It's easy to do that because they're individuals in their own sport, a Clarissa Shields. And I do think part of the issue is that gambling has ruined a lot of sports. Now, people might say, you're just hating. You're just mad because you lost on your parlay. Well, I don't gamble, so I don't knock it regardless. But I do think a lot of fans gamble on outcomes of fights, outcome of sports. And when it doesn't go their way, they gamble, they rent money away, they grocery money away, and then they get mad at the athlete or the team for making them lose their money. Well, I always operate in this principle. Don't gamble what you can't lose. So if you know you need that $40 for the next week, don't go gambling it and then go hit up a Caitlyn Clark or whatever and say, hey, you ruined my parlay, you suck, you white. We don't need to get into that whole racist thing. But that also leads to another conversation about why is race such a big thing? Now, I could go on a whole tangent on that, but I do think that for as much as people claim to be progressive in that department, they're not. Because every time I turn around, there's always something about race being brought up with athletes. I don't understand it. I don't like it. And I think we need to start moving away from that. We need to judge athletes based off their accomplishments and what they're doing, not what their skin color is or, whether you're from New York or Minnesota or what college you came from because it's an all-white school, whatever. It's mute and it doesn't impact the game. What impacts the game is your ability to be a professional athlete at the highest level. But yeah, I've gotten back and forth with a lot of fans on X, formerly Twitter, about this because I do think that people are getting crazy and they are getting comfortable being keyboard warriors. Mike Tyson had a great quote. He summed it up perfectly. Said people have gotten way too comfortable not getting punched in the face. And maybe you don't agree with that, but the idea of that statement is true because fans are getting egregious with their comments and they're getting way too comfortable calling athletes out their names, making racist, homophobic comments and calling them all types of stuff because they're upset that they lost their bet or they didn't like their performance that night. At the end of the day, I give respect to anybody who's out there as a professional and amateur who are going out there putting their life on the line, their body on the line, their health on the line for us. Because at the end of the day, it's easy to sit back while eating Doritos on a Saturday night, with your girlfriend or, your significant other, ordering Domino's, judging Anthony Joshua after he got knocked out. It's easy to do that when you're sitting there. But when you're actually competing, when you're actually putting in those hours, those training hours in, it's not easy. And I think fans need to let up on that. And if you are going to gamble, don't get mad that your athlete might have lost. Maybe it wasn't their night. They had an off night. Don't go DMing them, harassing them, because there is a trend going on. And I'm not oblivious to it. I'm not an idiot. This is my generation. People are doing this for clout. Now, I have my own ways of doing that. Shout out to Wade and Rod Johnson. I always call them out every episode. I have to. Out with the old, in with the new. Anyway, I can understand that people want to grow their fan base, grow their platform, grow whatever business or whatever that they're doing. But you could do it in a healthy way. You don't have to go out there and I see this all the time, especially with MMA, where some of these pages, some of these people, they have a picture of their favorite fighter or a fighter that they enjoy, and they go on these platforms and they call out fighters, after they lost. Oh, you suck, you fraud check, you garbage, you was never that great. And they keep doing this until the athlete actually responds. And then what do? They always do this. It never ceases to amaze me. What do? As soon as the athlete responds to them, they screen grab it. And then they say, I did it. I finally made it. I made it to the top. Michael Chandler words. I made it. See you at the top. I did it. But at what cost? Because, yeah, the athlete responded. But newsflash, you're not going to get an interview with them. They're not going to be friendly with you. They're not going to give you anything. You're not going to get an autograph, and their fans are going to come after you because you're harassing people. And we're seeing this, recently Israel Adesanya had the same thing happen while he was after his fight with Dricus du Plessis after he lost. He's just minding his business, and a fan pulls up on him talking trash. Why? Why do you do it? I don't know. People are very interesting. Look at me. Anyway, I got something else I want to talk about. Very popular, high profile thing going on, as we all know. Get ready, because I'm going to oil you up. P. Diddy. Why I haven't talked about him is because a lot of information hasn't been brought up yet. It's very controversial, depending on who you ask. It's not really controversial, besides the fact that, a lot of celebrities aren't talking about it, which is interesting. But I'm going to talk about it because I am the true A-lister, all right? I'm not going to get too much into it because, as we all know right now, there's not a lot of information as this episode comes out, at this point in this episode. But one thing I do want to touch on, whether he's guilty or not, I don't like people making fun of victims. And this is one of the biggest things that I advocate for. Like I said, I make my baby jokes and baby oil jokes, and I make light of the situation sometimes. But one thing I will never do is joke about someone else's pain, especially when it comes to sexual abuse or assault. And we're seeing this happen with Meek Mill, Justin Bieber, the male people, the male rappers, the male. But I don't like that people are using this opportunity to jump on certain uncalled for. And being an actor for 14 years, since I was 14 years old, and having my experience in the entertainment industry so far, we all know. I'm not aware. I am aware. I'm not oblivious, I should say, that there's a lot of predators lurking in these type of fields and these industries, and people are going to take advantage of the young, the desperate, the hungry, the people looking for opportunity. And if a male rapper or talent did something to get ahead that they didn't want to do, that is not funny. And I think our society has gotten, we're in an interesting time, right? We live in a society where people they want to break the traditional values, then they want to be progressive, but they still hold some of those old time theories. Be a man. A man can be abused, or if he's abused, you gotta laugh it off. It's funny. It's not funny. If Meek Mill was at one of these parties and got assaulted, Justin Bieber or whatever, I'm not going to name drop because we don't really know if these people actually were part of it. But if they were, it is not the time to start making jokes, because your jokes might affect them. And people forget celebrities are people too. Even me. People always think, look at the head, look at the crispy eyebrows, and they see that I'm very charismatic. I'm still a person. I have my days where I'm down. I have my days where I'm sad, and I think making jokes about someone's pain, it's not funny. And I think this is not the time to do it, because if we're not making fun of the women, we should not be making fun of men, because men are victims as well a lot of times, and they do get taken advantage of. And when it comes to people in power who do stuff like that, it's control and it's power. You have the power to make or break someone's career. So sometimes people go with it. Now, you can argue whether if that's worth the price of stardom or fame and money, but it doesn't change the fact that these are victims. So people, stop making fun. Stop going and sliding people's DMs and making sexual jokes about someone's pain. If it's true, we all know. But, we all know that Diddy. Who knows what's going to happen with that? I just know that I'm freaking off this topic. That's it. I'm moving on, right? Now, I got to say, Madison Square Garden is coming up, UFC. UFC 308, 309. I got to double check. I'm forgetting. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic is officially announced. Can't wait. Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, co-main event, 5 rounds. Another banger fight. More fights to be announced. There's other fights on the card, but those are the 2 fights I'm looking forward to right now as we speak. And, this goes into another conversation I wanted to have about fans and stuff like that. So I'm gonna save Jon Jones for a second. I know I talk about him a lot, but I'm sticking up for him. All right, that is my favorite athlete of all time. But Michael Chandler has been criticized for his determination to get the Conor McGregor fight. It hasn't happened yet. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't know. People like to assume they're buddies with the fighters, but they don't know. But Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira is going to be a banger fight. It's going to be probably the number 1 contender behind Arman Sarukian. But people have been making a lot of jokes about Michael Chandler. Oh, you a simp. You Conor McGregor's lapdog. They've even attacked the fact that he's adopted black children, which is crossing the line and talking about his family. People are weird. I try to reserve a lot of my opinions on these. I speak my mind, but I don't speak my true mind, because sometimes, I'm a New Yorker. It could come out the wrong way sometimes. But man, the fans are just, they're getting, I hate when they do this. Yeah, Michael Chandler waited for Conor McGregor. Newsflash, most fighters would. More money, more exposure, more opportunity. The Conor McGregor red panty night is real. And yeah, maybe it's a conversation that we need to have, that maybe Conor McGregor isn't the fighter that he used to be. When you make that type of money, you have that type of money in the bank, it's hard to wake up, when you have everything that you want. You got the yacht, the cars, the Bugattis, the family, you got the silk sheets, you got everything at your disposal. Maybe it is a time that maybe Conor may not come back. Who knows? But to criticize a fighter for wanting to fight the biggest star in UFC history, it's kind of crazy. Now, don't get me wrong. I've jumped on him too. I'm saying, hey, man, you got to move on. And it's not because I was being disrespectful to him. It was more the fact that, he's not a spring chicken anymore. I like Michael Chandler. There's no disrespect to him at all. He's 38. How many more years he's going to be able to compete with the Justin Gaethjes, the Dustin Poiriers, the Islam Makhachevs, the Dan Hookers at that level? Father Time is undefeated. We all know that. Very few fighters, unless you're Randy Couture, a Glover Teixeira, ever reaches that top of that mountain, pushing 40 or over 40. Rarely happens. So I'm glad that he's taking this fight, mostly because he's getting the opportunity to sharpen his tools, and he now has options. That's the key point. When you're an athlete, it's all about the options. When you have those type of options, you can do whatever you want. And now you have a bargaining chip. He could fight if he goes through Charles Oliveira. He could do a championship fight with Islam Makhachev, more fame, more money, more exposure. He could fight Conor McGregor, even more money, more number one contender, more exposure, more popularity. So it's a win-win for him right now. And Jon Jones versus Stipe, I am pumped to see it. I can't wait to finally see Jon Jones in person. I'm going to the press conference. I don't care if I gotta, fire my agent. I don't care if I gotta run through a crowd of babies. I'm going to that press conference. Jon Jones, one of my favorite fighters. Well, he is my favorite fighter. Let me clarify that real quick. My favorite fighter of all time. Stipe, one of my favorites of all time. People online are, trying to trash this fight, but let's keep it real. We all know those same people are going to be either paying, buying, or pirating that pay-per-view. They're going to watch it, so they can talk all the trash that they want. But November 16th, I think is the date. I'm forgetting. Don't fact check me, please. I'm working hard over here, right? But I can't wait for that pay-per-view. Jon Jones always getting criticized. It could be his last fight. He went on, UFC Noche de Spear. That just happened. He said, this might be my last fight. This could be my last fight. Possibly. If this is his retirement fight, I'm going to be emotional. I'm not going to lie. He inspired me to get into MMA, to watch MMA, to train MMA. And I know people like to bring up his personal life. I always say we could do that with every athlete at some point. Oh, they did this, they did that. We all have made mistakes in our lives, some greater than others, some more egregious than others. At the end of the day, I'm not talking about Jon Jones, the human being outside of the cage. I'm talking about Jon Jones, the fighter, the multiple world time champion, the youngest champion in history. It's going to be a good fight. I'm hoping both guys come in healthy. The fight actually happens. I don't need one of them getting hurt and then the whole Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones, Stipe ducking him nonsense to continue on. I need this fight to happen because I want to see these two guys get the fight that they truly earn and deserve. It's going to be a barn burner fight. It's going to be a clash of the greatest fight of all time versus the greatest heavyweight of all time. And there's a lot of questions. People are writing on Stipe Miocic like he's some nobody. The most title defenses in heavyweight. I'm curious to see, is Jon Jones able to take a punch from Stipe? How does Stipe deal with Jon Jones wrestling? How does Stipe deal with Jon Jones dynamic striking? You don't see a lot of people with Jon Jones's ability, especially a heavyweight. How does he deal with that? How does Jon Jones come in? Does he come in lighter than he did when he first came up to fight Ciryl Gane? Does Stipe come in heavier? I'm intrigued by that fight, and people like to call old man Stipe, but let's not forget the dude is still a warrior. He's still a multiple world time champion, and he's no slouch. People like to write him off because he got knocked out by Francis in the last fight, but Stipe beat Francis their first fight, and the time off might have helped him. Now, yeah, he might be a little on the older side now, but time off after knockout is never a bad thing. So I'm intrigued by it. And if it's a double retirement fight for both of these guys, I'm going out. I'm going down swinging with them. I got to see this. I got to witness this. So I'm telling you right now, the week of that fight week of that pay-per-view, don't call me. Don't hit me up. Don't ask me for tickets. Don't ask me for money. I ain't doing nothing. I'm watching that fight. I got to see this. And, if this is the end of the road for both of these athletes, thank you for everything you've done. I can't wait to tune in and check that out. But, it's a very interesting time of sports. Hockey's back. Got a lot of options with that. And I think that we as a society just need to be better. A lot of divisive things going on. And before I wrap this up, because I know you're probably on your way home from work, you're probably chilling with your girlfriend, you're heading up the drive-thru at McDonald's, getting a double cheeseburger. But I want to say something about the podcast real quick, because I haven't talked about the real hard-hitting things. And I haven't done that in a while, mostly because I've had a conversation. I was actually debating somebody about this the other day. It's like for me, I'm passionate about a lot of things. And part of this platform I wanted to do was have open and honest conversations about various things. And I've done that. But lately, I just been tired. I've been sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when I say that, I mean, for the longest, I was talking about politics. I was talking about police brutality. I was talking about abuse in the industry. I was talking about a bunch of various hard, divisive subjects in this country. And as much as I like it, as much as I love doing those type of conversations, unfortunately, we have people out there who like to start trouble, if you will. They like to watch the episodes, clip them, put them out there, and start trouble. Oh, he said this, or whatever the case, we make up a narrative. And I've realized that when one person actually had the audacity, I think I might have said this on a podcast before, but somebody had the audacity to hit up my manager. Well, actually, my agent at the time. I wasn't my manager at the time, but someone actually DM'd my agent like, "Hey, check out your client. He's spewing Trump supporter stuff, and I don't even know what he was rambling on about. Nothing ever happened to it, but that's the length that people are going to when they don't like your opinion. So that's why for me, I've taken a step back from the hard-hitting subjects. And I do talk about them on another platform, my buddy Dimitri, his YouTube channel. So if you want my unfiltered thoughts, go over there and check those out. But on this platform, I want to keep this fun. I want to keep this light. I want to keep it airy. I want to make sure that everybody enjoys this. And what's the best way to enjoy something? Well, shout out. Well, it's not a sponsor. I was actually thirsty. That's why I was bringing it. But anyway, comedy. I want to make this fun. I want to make jokes. I want to have laughter, make this entertaining, of course, because I'm the most charismatic, the most entertaining, the most electrifying man in entertainment. And if anybody, Kevin Hart, Jason Momoa, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I don't care who you are. If you got a problem with it, come on this platform. Let's debate. See, this is how you do it. Anyway, I don't want to ramble too much and make this a ridiculous episode. I hate when people do it. Hold on one second. But, going forward, like I told you in the last episode, I'm working on a lot of interviews with people in entertainment, sports, other fields as well. And I'm going to come back stronger. 2025, I have very big plans for this podcast. And I just want to change the direction of it just for the longevity. Longevity-wise, as much as I like talking about the hard-hitting things, it's very divisive. And people, a lot of people don't have the same open-mindedness as me or some of you guys that always supported me, even if you're new or you've been here since the beginning. So we're going to continue talking about it, but it just won't be the same format that it used to be just because, I'm aiming for greatness. I'm aiming for something else. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the solo show. Get your mind out the gutter, of course. But I'm hoping that the next episode I'm working on something with a very special guest. But, scheduling everything, we'll see how that turns out. But, I'm planning my next vacation. I can't wait to get out. I'm trying to do that more often. I wish I would have done it in my earlier 20s as well. But, it is what it is. I'm doing it now. I'm going out there. The most charismatic man is sightseeing. People get to see the most charismatic man. No autographs. If you see me eating cheesecake, please. That's my thing. But anyway, I'm humble. Stay humble. Like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand. That's right. That's right. You don't got to go home, but you can stay here. Check out the other episodes. Oh, by the way, before I go to my YouTube channel, The Prince of Fresh Air, please go over there. If you're a big follower, you love this podcast, whether you hate me, you love me, show support. I don't care if you leave a negative comment over there, but if you can, go to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow it up. I'm trying to put all the full episodes, the video episodes over there as well. Go over there, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever. But just go over there, check them out because I'm trying to, diversify this podcast and get it up and running on YouTube. And we're rocking and rolling. This year has been really big in that department, but Go check it out over there if you ever want to, if you don't have access to the video episodes on Spotify or whatever. But anyway, that's it for me. Do you have something else to say? Well, there's the door. The most charismatic man is out.